Tiffany Stratton breaks silence after Charlotte Flair chooses her on WWE SmackDown. For WrestleMania 41, Charlotte Flair has her eyes set on WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton as the Queen picked the buff Barbie for WrestleMania 41. Today, Stratton broke the silence and addressed Flair's choice after Friday Night SmackDown earlier this year. Tiffany Stratton finally cashed in her Money in the Bank contract and became the new WWE Women's Champion. However, Charlotte Flair returned to the brand after over a year and won the Women's Royal Rumble in her first match since returning to WWE. That on the latest episode of Friday Night SmackDown, the Queen decided who she'll be going after at WrestleMania 41. And it's Tiffany Stratton. Today, the buff Barbie had a message for Charlotte Flair and broke the silence on heading into her first WrestleMania as the brand's champion. Tiffany Stratton will compete at WWE Elimination Chamber 2025 before her match with Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 41. Tiffany Stratton gained momentum on the main roster when she competed at last year's Elimination Chamber Premium Live event in Perth. Later, she allied with Nia Jax, which turned into a toxic friendship as Nia Jax belittled the buff Barbie when Candice LeRae started tagging with them. In retaliation, Stratton took the WWE Women's Championship from the Irresistible Force. On the recent edition of Friday Night SmackDown, the buff Barbie was moments away from retaining her title when LeRae jumped in and caused a disqualification while Trish Stratus tried to help the champion. The villainous duo stood tall and left the ring. Later, Stratus approached Tiffany Stratton and asked the buff Barbie if she would like to team up with her and take on Nia Jax and Candice LeRae at Elimination Chamber 2025 in Canada. The champion agreed, and the match will take place in Stratus' home country. Charlotte Flair, the shocking truth behind her 3 broken marriages and heart-wrenching split from Andrade. If there's one thing that Charlotte Flair has mastered, it's how to take the hits and rise again, much like the fierce competitor she battles in the ring. But, much like the rest of us, Charlotte's journey outside of the squared circle has been far from perfect. In fact, it's been downright messy, filled with heartbreaks, emotional scars, and personal challenges that no amount of training or wrestling moves can prepare you for. From high-profile marriages to public separations, Charlotte's love life has played out like an unpredictable match, full of unforeseen twists and turns. And in 2024, after 2 years of marriage, she filed for divorce from her third husband, Andrade. But this latest chapter is just the latest in a series of relationships that have tested her strength and resilience beyond what anyone could imagine. So, let's step outside the ring for a moment and take a closer look at the 3 significant marriages that have marked Charlotte Flair's personal story. Before Charlotte became the WWE Queen, she was just a woman in search of love, one who was married to Ricky Johnson between 2010 and 2013. This relationship, however, was anything but fairy tale material. In her autobiography, Second Nature, Charlotte opened up about a marriage that, behind closed doors, was filled with pain, fear, and the kind of emotional turmoil that no one should ever have to endure. Charlotte, in a raw and vulnerable moment during a 2017 ESPN interview, reflected on her years with Ricky. Ricky was the hardest to write about. It was hard because I never dealt with it. I'm embarrassed and ashamed. And why would I let myself go through something like that? The truth is, the toxic dynamic of their relationship eventually led to Charlotte's departure. A painful chapter that not only took a toll on her heart, but also haunted her for years. Despite her courage to share her side of the story, Johnson denied the abuse allegations, even going so far as to file a defamation lawsuit against Charlotte, her father Ric Flair, and WWE for their involvement in the memoir. Charlotte Flair's second marriage to Thomas Bram Latimer. As the saying goes, when one door closes, another opens. But sometimes, that new door doesn't lead to sunshine and roses, as Charlotte learned when she tied the knot with Thomas Bram Latimer in 2013. At first, their marriage seemed like a promising power duo, 2 rising stars in the wrestling world. But behind the glitzy exterior was a relationship that would eventually hit the skids. In 2015, Latimer found himself in legal hot water after a domestic disturbance involving charges of domestic battery and false imprisonment. Though the charges were later dropped, the damage to their marriage was irreparable. Charlotte filed for divorce that same year, and their marriage crumbled under the weight of emotional stress, legal issues, and unmet expectations. Once again, she found herself in the difficult position of picking up the pieces and moving forward stronger. Charlotte Flair broke a long-standing WWE tradition. To show she's a perfect natural heel, Charlotte Flair triumphantly returned to wrestling at the WWE Royal Rumble Premium Live event, competing in her first match in over a year after a serious knee injury. She was pre-announced for the match, so it wasn't a surprise moment, but in typical Flair fashion, she made sure everyone left the show talking about her. That's because the Queen returned with a bang, winning the Women's Royal Rumble and booking her place at WWE WrestleMania 41. However, after a brief moment in the sun as a babyface, fans brought her crashing back down to earth with a bang by booing her out of the building the following night, proving her quality as a heel by going against a classic wrestling tradition. Typically, in wrestling, whenever someone returns from a serious injury, they're welcomed back with a babyface run because fans are just happy to see them. Considering the length of time that Charlotte was sidelined for, coupled with her general star power, most people presumed that would be the case here. Charlotte Flair didn't get the welcome back babyface run. Flair got a good reception in the Royal Rumble match itself, and that seemed to set things up positively for a babyface run. However, the next night on WWE Raw, fans hated her again, and it was as if no time had passed from her previous run in WWE, despite the fact she was cutting a genuinely babyface promo about the adversities she's dealt with and the problems she's had to overcome. Fans just seem to have zero sympathy for Flair. It's a unique situation for someone to be in, but it does prove that she's a genuinely fantastic heel. And that's not easy to find when someone is also a terrific in-ring talent like she is. That WWE consistently makes booking mistakes with Charlotte Flair. Big reason fans immediately turned on Charlotte Flair after her return is that there appears to be nothing new with her character or in how WWE is booking her. From the moment she arrived on the main roster, WWE has forced her into main event positions, racking up title wins to seemingly catch her father's record as quickly as possible. None of that aligns with a babyface, so people prefer to cheer the likes of Bayley or Becky Lynch. Fans like to see someone scrap and earn their opportunities, and returning from a serious injury like Flair did provide WWE the chance to tell that story with Flair, having her narrowly miss out and be forced to scrap for everything. However, WWE just had her waltz back and immediately won the Royal Rumble. That's the same type of booking the company has always done. Unfortunately, at this stage, audiences are genuinely tied to it. Flair might be an incredible professional wrestler, but she has become stagnant, and that's a problem for her character. The fact that fans wasted no time telling WWE exactly that isn't a positive sign either. There are certain wrestlers who fans cannot imagine as a heel, such as Rey Mysterio, but Charlotte Flair falls into the opposite category. While she's been a babyface in the past, it is a role that's never quite suited her and has never felt truly organic or natural when it has been attempted. Charlotte Flair is unlikely to ever work as a babyface. A big reason for that is her overall presentation. While some fans can get cheered for claiming they're the best in the world, such as CM Punk, Flair cannot. Seeing her walk out in huge robes or wearing designer gear for promos all push a classic heel character, and her often arrogant persona only supports that Flair is a genuinely brilliant heel who always gets a massive reaction from the fans, which is crucial for anyone in this role. WWE doesn't have many of these at the top level, and that's why the company might just consider never changing her at this point. The path forward for Charlotte can already be seen, as she is now fully leaning into her heel gimmick, as was shown on last week's SmackDown during her promo with Tiffany Stratton. There's no turning back now. Charlotte Flair shows off new physique. Sends message to fans. Charlotte Flair showed off her impressive new physique on social media following this week's edition of WWE Raw. Flair missed over a year of action due to a major injury before